And you mentioned kind of the balance, a little bit of encouragement versus discipline. And for me, like I knew me like as a high school athlete, I was much more like I needed the positive reinforcement and that kind of stuff. But for you, how do you kind of like, does it just come down to getting to know the player? But how do you kind of decide whether to be positive or disciplinary about certain things when you're coaching?
Well, I really try hard to treat our players the way I would my own kids, and I tell our players this, that if I'm going to ask one of my sons to take out the trash, trash day is on Tuesday, so Monday night I'm going to say, hey, would you please take out the trash? And if it gets to be around bedtime for them and the trash still isn't out, then all of a sudden that tone's going to change a little bit to where I said, you're going to take out the trash. And then Tuesday morning, if I get up and that trash still isn't out, that tone's really going to change to where you better take out the trash, and this is what's going to happen. So I kind of take the same approach in coaching. Like, we're going to tell people how to do things, and then a certain way. And then if it's not getting done, then, the tone may change and go from there. But, I think discipline's an important part of any program. And I think that it depends on the player. Every player responds to something different. But at the same time, if we're going to prepare them for real life, we also have to maybe bring them out of their comfort zone a little bit to experience things that they're going to see in the real world. So
kind of show them the real world.
Exactly. And so, maybe a player isn't used to having someone get after them a little bit, but that's going to happen in the real world. So I'd rather have them go through that now, learn to become, we always talk about you need to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. And if we can get them into that comfort zone of being uncomfortable now, when they get into the real world, it's going to make life a lot easier.
Yeah, it's like, at least this isn't being coached by Tungate. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
So kind of going to the timeline of your coaching career, you've had time as the associate head coach of Oakland men's basketball, and then getting the position in 2013 for women's basketball. And this one is always, me never being a coach, I've always been kind of fascinated as to the difference between coaching men and coaching women. And you have kind of that immediate experience of the transition. What is, for you, like the biggest difference between coaching men and women? Because I'd imagine that there is a difference, or is there not?
I mean, it's basketball. Basketball is basketball. I think it's different in terms of how you build the chemistry. I think it's a little different in terms of how you connect as a team and build that team bonding. I think their goals are a little bit different. And I think that's starting to change now because of the popularity of the WNBA. Sure. But, I think in coaching guys, every guy thinks they're going to be an NBA player, and every guy thinks they're going to be a first-round NBA draft pick. Where I think coaching women, they're more focused on what's going to be their career after basketball. What's their academic career, and that pursuit going to lead them to where they're going to be professionally. And so I think there's a little more emphasis on life after basketball on the women's side, where the guys are kind of focused on what's next in terms of the NBA, and then having their degree to fall back on if that doesn't work out. Where I think on the women's side, it's more, this is what I'm going to pursue with my degree, and if I have an opportunity to play professionally, that's great. So I think it's just a little bit of a reverse order in the thinking of that. But again, with the popularity of the WNBA now, and I could see that changing too, where I think players now come to college saying, you know what, I want to do that. and I can do that, and I want to have an opportunity to do that. So, but at the end of the day, it's basketball. Whether men's basketball, women's basketball, there's a love for a game, the passion for the game, the love to represent Oakland University, and so there's a lot of things that are similar as well.